Our Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for loving us the way you do in spite of who we are and how imperfect we are. We pray that you will remind us to not to have any other gods before you and to focus on you first and foremost. Pray that we will be kind with one another, respectful with one another, and that everything that we say and do will be pleasing to you. And everything that this body does in making decisions will be respectful of the law and the people. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Chief Monday, are you back there?
He's outside.
He's outside.
Hallway.
Yeah, I know it, but he wanted to come forward. And Major,
Major Nelson.
can you hear me? Chief,
He's
Oh, there he is,
he's
Brent.
down.
go ahead. Okay, we're going to have him introduce one of our officers, but he wanted to do that up front, but he'll have to wait till the end. Okay, our public comment period is for you to express your opinions about any matters that are on your mind. We limit you to 3 minutes, and we ask you to state your name and address when you speak. If you could fill out a form before you speak and hand it to our clerk so that she can keep track of these. And speak to us, please, as opposed to turning around. And I have Carrie Clarl to go first.
My name is Carrie Clarl. I live at 203 Mann Road. I would like to address the transparency about Project Rita. At the last meeting, we were given a tutorial on how to find the minutes of past council meetings. I think most of us already knew how to find those minutes. What I can't find, however, are the minutes of the meetings that were held between council and the FCDA long before the public knew about the rezoning request. Where do we find those minutes? And while the town has now created a website about Project Rita, there is much that is left out. The timeline on the website states that on October 13th, 2023, the project triggered a regional DRI study. That tells me it was already in the works. What happened between February 2023, when the town adopted the BTP zoning category, and the first mention of the project on October 13th? Was there any information available to the public prior to that date? Did council members who voted to approve the data center do any research on their own to educate themselves about data centers? Did anyone look beyond what was presented by the FCDA? When I make a large purchase, like a car, I don't listen to just the salesperson. I do my own research. Do you not owe it to your constituents to learn about the negative effects of data centers? Those effects were not included in the developer's presentation. On page 10 of the minutes of the meeting on March 21st, 2024, it says, and I quote, "He, Mayor Dial, inquired about the external noise of the buildings, and she, Nikki Vanderslice, stated that it would be minimal." That answer is not accurate. She's not an expert on the noise emitted by data centers. I implore you to consult an expert on data center noise before issuing any permits. There's currently a federal class action lawsuit in Michigan over the continuous noise created by cooling fans of the Alliance Cloud Center's data center. On March 21st, 2024, after the presentation by Nikki Vanderslice, the mayor asked if council had any questions. The minutes state, quote, "No one responded." So not one person had a single question about this data center? I can only surmise that any questions had been answered long before this. The town's website references an AJC article from November 2024. The article states, "Scant details on the early stage proposal were disclosed in a recent DRI filing." I ask you, if the AJC could not find details on the project, how are citizens supposed to find details? The article further states Tyrone manager Brandon Perkins referred media requests to the Development Authority. Nikki Vanderslice, the authority's president and CEO, declined to answer specific questions on the project, end quote. Is that transparency? This is probably the most far-reaching decision the town has ever made. The council should have a basic understanding of the effects of data centers, including contamination of local aquifers, noise, EMF emission, and others. I implore you to educate yourselves before any permits are issued.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't have any more forms. I'm sure they're out there. If y'all want to bring them on up now, I'll have them in a stack, but whoever's next can come up now.
Good evening. My name is Ellie Varela. I live on Man Road, less than 1 mile away from the proposed data center site. I'm concerned about the data center because of sound pollution. I'm concerned about the data center because of water contamination. And I'm concerned about the data center because it does not align with the mission statement of Tyrone, which states, "The mission of the town of Tyrone is to provide a safe, healthy environment in which to live through effective delivery of municipal services in a fiscally responsible manner." For the sake of time, I can only focus on some of this. I want to continue to urge you to do your research on the health effects of why data center noise really matters. Sources come from cooling systems, fans, generators, transformers, substations, construction, and more. These cooling systems, they run continuously, and they're more audible at night when the background noise comes down. So this is just a small example of how it can cause sleep issues, anxiety, etc. Before anything moves forward, do we have a baseline sound study, predictive modeling? Do we have nighttime sound limits, post-construction verifications, or maintenance requirements? Additionally, whether a data center uses direct evaporative cooling, chiplet level cooling, or air-cooled chillers, which according to Microsoft, this one would use all three, it is not a matter of if water contamination happens. It is a matter of when. This happens through the discharge of chemically treated cooling wastewater, pipe ruptures, there's underground fuel spills that happen from the generators, there's maintenance down drains that they need to do, and there's, of course, severe construction runoff. Plus, data centers primarily use PFAS. These are forever chemicals that do not go away, and they use this to cool their systems and cool their servers. So all of this then seeps into the aquifers that the people you represent depend on for their well water. I also want to address a few comments from the last council meeting to continue the conversation. The first was about transparency. And while it seems as though the council does want to be transparent now, please know that transparency is not just about being honest about what happened in the past. It is about being truthful and forthcoming about what you know is to come. And unfortunately, with the NDAs in place, transparency simply cannot be used to describe how this data center came to be approved. I'd also like to address the comment made last meeting of, we only see this type of people involvement here when it affects them personally. Besides the fact that a resident is allowed to speak up whenever it matters to them, let me be very clear. This does not just affect me personally. It affects my neighbors, it affects my neighbors' neighbors, and it affects the entire town that you represent. It affects my family that I have living here in Tyrone, and it even affects my family that I have living in Fairburn, right across from the proposed site. So to make a patronizing comment like that during our council comment is not only dismissive to everybody here, it is completely tone deaf. I understand it may feel hard because you already made the decision, and I know it will be hard to make a change, but I truly believe where there's a will, there's a way, and when we know better, we can do better together. Thank you.
Thank you.
You get that form.
Yes, sir.
Eric Larson, 105 Kelsworth Way. During the Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Summit in February, the town manager confirmed that Tyrone had approved zoning for a data center site in Tyrone. He further relayed that unlike the other data center projects in Fayette and Coweta counties, the Microsoft project has drawn relatively limited organized opposition. Well, why is that? Why has there been limited organized opposition? Well, let's look at how we got here and the transparency and honesty of the town council. If you look at the agendas for the March 21st and 28th, 2024 council meetings, there is no reference to approving a data center. There is no reference to a data center at all. only that the council was considering rezoning 5 parcels of land on Kirkley Road to Business Technology Park. As a matter of fact, the mayor said during the meeting on March 21st, it was not council's job to approve a data center that night or at the special called meeting on March 28th. The rezoning was unanimously approved by the council on March 28th, which then paved the way for the building of this data center since Business Technology Park zoning allows for them. Fast forward to March 19th, 2026, 2 years later, where during a council meeting, Mayor Dial shared that the Microsoft data center was approved in 2024. As an aside, I'm not sure why the mayor is saying the data center was approved in 2024 because it's not factually accurate. The rezoning of the land was approved. A data center was never part of this discussion. But I took the mayor at his word, and I figure I had somehow missed when the Microsoft data center was discussed/approved at a council meeting. So I downloaded all the meeting minutes for every council meeting between March 24th and March 26th. Guess how many times this data center was mentioned in a meeting or during either the mayor's State of the Town addresses? 0. The council was so proud of their decision to allow this data center that they never brought it up again for 2 years. No one said, hey, we should let the folks in Tyrone know we are getting a data center. They will want to hear this great news. No one said, hey, we should get Microsoft in here ASAP to share how tremendous this will be for the community. Nope, we got crickets. The 2 years that this data center decision was allowed to fester without communicating to the people of Tyrone, making stopping this catastrophe difficult at best. But I would argue that that was the plan all along. The reason there was limited opposition is because leadership never told the citizens what was going on. There was minimal, if not zero, communication. What appeared to be an innocent rezoning of land parcels in the county, which happens all the time, turned into a giant deception. A transparent council would have told folks in 2024 that Tyrone plans to rezone land parcels in order to build a data center. Had you been honest with your constituents in March 2024, we would not be where we are now. This is a complete failure to communicate and was completely avoidable, and I would argue a complete failure of leadership.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly Larson. I live at Tullamore, the Tullamore neighborhood. And I was reading the information that you had on your website about the data center and also about the timeline, and these were my observations. The first one was the 5-year development plan, and it looks like roughly 4.4% of the town responded. This wasn't a lot, but the responses did say preserve the green space, protect old tree growth, protect the water resources and wildlife habitat, and we didn't want high-density housing. But what happened? We sold 161 acres to a data center, and we're building high-density housing near the roundabout. My second observation was I watched all the videos and read all the documentation relating to the timeline and the Business Technology Park text change, the BTP text change. Initially, in those meetings, and they were mostly planning commission meetings, some were planning commissions, some were council meetings, talked about 200,000 square feet. And the Planning Commission, and especially you, Councilman Hunter, I appreciated, we're worried about the height of the building being 50 feet. You worried about the footprint and how much of that footprint could be used for warehouse space. And I get that. But somehow in these meetings, the 200,000 square feet changed to 300,000 square feet with no public discussion. And one of the meetings, the only meeting who mentioned the 3,000 feet, just simply in passing, was a February 9th, 2023 meeting that was completely left off the published timeline. The max footprint of these buildings increased by 50%, going from 200,000 square feet to 300,000 square feet, almost the size of 2 football fields with absolutely no discussion. Microsoft's building 2 of these buildings at 250,000 square feet, and of course, the Fayette County Development Authority had input on this, and the public's desire to preserve the green space was secondary. The third observation I made was loud and clear, we get it. We understand you're not a power company or a water company, so if our water pressure drops or our power bills go up, we won't blame you. Number 4, your published timeline on the website ends at May 10th, 2024. It's now 2026. Nothing for 2 years. You made the biggest deal in Tyrone's history. One I suppose that you would be proud of, but nothing, no party in the park, no banner on the website, nothing. And my fifth observation was, I'm an engineer and I purchased expensive industrial equipment similar to what the other lady said, and I had to go to a capital budget meeting. I had to make a case and do my homework, and the CEO of that meeting and the executives tried to punch holes in my reasoning, and it was stressful. I had to defend my position. And if I did a good job, I got the money and could build what I needed for my department. I didn't take the word of the people selling me the equipment. I talked to companies that used it and asked, would you buy it again? What would make it better or more useful to you? And I read industry articles. Where did you make this case for your decision? I didn't see that on your website. Why did you not explain to us why you did this? Defend your decision.
Thank
And
you.
Derek Jackson changed his position. I would hope that you all would maybe do the same.
Hi, my name is Deborah McIver. I'm at 435 Westbourne Drive. Um, So my neighbors have asked me to speak because I am an environmental specialist. So I know that our neighbors, our community is more worried about the concerns, the environment and what this data center is going to do to the natural, beautiful parts of Tyrone, like our our water sheds, like our aquifers. And you actually putting a building on top of an aquifer and doing any kind of work and anything that goes to that grass will go to that aquifer. Are we depending on Microsoft to tell us how to control those hazards? Because that's what it sounds like. I went to another meeting before, and the person was talking about a closed loop water system and didn't even know what one was. So I wonder, do we have a SME who understands what a phase one, a phase two environmental assessment means? Have we put it on the screen so we can see it, so we can understand what are the issues over there? Because people are talking about the lead, the mercury, those are the PFAS, if you didn't know that. The things that stick around forever. We're talking about that, but do we even know if there's some there right now? Do we know what we need to do to control that from getting into our environment? Or are we actually depending on Microsoft to tell us about our community? Do we have anybody like that? A SME? These are the SMEs, actually. When you start listening to your residents' concerns, that's when you need to go get the answers for them. Can we post those things online so we can look at it? We have engineers, we got an environmental professional, and you have other professionals in our residents that can actually look over these things. Do we have that out there for them? The other thing, let's see, I'm sorry. We're more worried about, I know you're more worried about the financial benefits from this. You must be, because I'm looking at this, and this is a hot show right here, because no one's been able to answer any of my environmental questions. So you must be only worried about the financial benefits. When we look at that, we have million-dollar homes. We have beautiful homes that we've raised our families in. We have homes that our families come back to visit. Do you know what that's going to do to the value of our homes? We're not getting that financial benefit. And there is a regulation about the control, the amount of noise that can go past, they can't go past a certain time in the day, because I'm also a safety professional, a CSP. So I also know that there is regulations behind that. So hopefully you got somebody working on that too. Okay? That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hey, my name is Lynn Redwood. I live at 254 Trickham Creek Road. As you know, Trickham Creek runs through the front of my property. I'm really concerned about water quality and what that can do to our entire neighborhood and our wells. So when you look at the site plan that was included in the DRI for the Microsoft Data Center, there's wetlands, existing ponds, drainage ponds, and it's located adjacent to Trickum Creek. As you know, Trickum Creek feeds into Line Creek and creates a small water supply watershed. Small water supply watersheds are much more vulnerable to pollution than large watersheds. In addition to that, the data center is also located in what the state has identified as a most significant groundwater recharge area. What that means is that any surface water can run directly into the aquifer. And once we contaminate an aquifer, guys, that's done. That's really huge. So I want you to take this very seriously. These environmental factors create a credible water contamination risk. And the main risks are coming from closed-loop chemical release. These closed-loop systems use corrosive inhibitors, biocides, antifreeze, glycol blends, dissolved metals, such as copper, nickel, mercury, lead, molybdenum nitrate inhibitors, chromium-6 or hexavalent chromium, which is a known carcinogen. Sewer discharge pathways, even closed-loop systems require maintenance, which includes flushing, draining, downflow, and other disposal events. Loop systems concentrate those treatment chemicals, and an unplanned drain down or valve leak can create large contaminant loads. If routed to the sewer, the concern is whether the receiving wastewater treatment has pre-treatment limits, real-time monitoring, spill detection, and capacity to prevent bypass overflow into Trickum Creek, which have occurred fairly frequently in the past few years as the sewer system has expanded. Drinking water vulnerability, as I mentioned before, small water supply watersheds, and the other thing that I want to go into is what can be done to be able to monitor this. And Mayor Dow, back a few weeks ago when we spoke, and I brought this up to your attention, you said, well, what do we need to do? How do we monitor this? So I have a few recommendations for you. The questions that need to be asked are, what chemicals are they specifically using in this closed loop system? What are the maximum on-site quantities that are going to be in storage there at the facility? Will glycol, nitrate, molybdenum, phosphate, azoles, biocides, PFAS containing fire foam, transformer oil, or diesel be stored on-site? Will there be cooling loop drain down water? Will it go into the sewer? Will it be hauled waste? Or is it going to be pre-treated on site? What happens during sewer overflow, bypass, power outages, fire, freeze, or valve failures? What backups do they have in place? Are wetlands, Trickum Creek, Line Creek, protected by secondary containment shutoff? I've got 2 more sentences. Has Microsoft submitted a spill prevention control and countermeasure plan? Has anyone modeled contaminant transport into Trickum Creek and Line Creek? That's critical. And I also want to see baseline and ongoing monitoring required for private wells, wetlands, Trickum Creek and Line Creek.
Can you provide that to us?
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to Dee, because this is my dirty copy. But
Okay.
that would be really helpful. And we're here, you know, as the person who just spoke, to help you review over this information.
I think some of these things we already have answers to, but we'll get that. Thank you. Next. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have a couple of public hearing items tonight. Philip, do you want to present the first public hearing item, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first public hearing item before you this evening is a public hearing to brief the community on the town's comprehensive growth and development plan update process. A little bit of summary on this. The Georgia Planning Act requires every municipality in Georgia to prepare, adopt, maintain, and implement a comprehensive plan compliant with minimum standards established by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And it is a requirement, for qualified local government status, QLG status, which allows Tyrone participation in state grants and programs necessary for our annual functioning. So the town's comprehensive plan was last updated in 2022. The QLG deadline for the full next update is June 30th of 2027. So we're going to be doing the update of the comp plan throughout the entirety of this next year. That deadline is an adoption date and not a submittal date, so we need to make sure that DCA and the Atlanta Regional Commission has adequate time to review our comprehensive plan. The purpose of us having a public hearing at the inception of the planning process is to brief the community on how we go about doing the plan, what that looks like, and identify opportunities for public participation and receive input on the proposed planning approach. So any comments tonight will go towards that. This will not be the only time that we will solicit public comment. Yes, sir. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So we will have other public hearings as well. So Planning Commission, we had a public hearing last week, and then we will have another public hearing before we have a transmittal resolution to DCA and ARC for adoption. So the planning process, it will address following elements, each required under DCA standards: community goals, needs and opportunities, which is essentially our SWOT analysis, a community work program, which is essentially our capital improvement element that we do in budgeting. We also have a broadband services element, which we have broadband service here. It's mostly for rural communities, but we do submit something small on that. The land use element, which is arguably the most kind of intensive and important part, as well as the transportation element, which will be expanding in this comprehensive plan. We have a lot of extra data that we can use to expand the transportation plan with recent work from the county. So the process will begin with a citizen steering committee with representation from town council, the DDA, and planning commission. So our planning commission, our boards and council will each have a representative, but we will also have 12 stakeholders, community stakeholders that will be part of that steering committee from around the town. We've collected about 50 responses thus far. That survey is still accessible online. We're finalizing our selection, but if there are some that are still interested in being on the steering committee, what we'll do, even if we have a finalized selection, the number of people, as long as it's a modest number of people, and I say modest, no more than another like 30 or 40, we will do an in-person or a virtual long-form interview to kind of get and solicit feedback from everybody who wanted to participate in the steering committee, since it's a little bit more intensive process. So we'll have representatives from around the town. We wanted to make sure that we got a good cross-section of people with different interests, with who are represent all corners of the town geographically, different demographic spread that represents the town well. A community-wide survey will then be open for approximately 5 months. This will be a pretty comprehensive survey. After we work with the steering committee on that development, we work with Planning Commission on that development, and that will go out for 5 months. We'll solicit that public feedback. We'll also be having a lot of public engagement events. Multiple public input events and open houses will be had. We have had very good participation in recent plans, particularly our 2017 plan was really well attended. Overall, you're not getting a tremendous number, and in terms of total percentage of the town's population, it may not be a huge amount, but sometimes it can be challenging to get a lot of people out for the comprehensive plan process. In 2017, we actually had more gross participation than the city of Alpharetta, which it was a good percentage of our population. It was enough for a statistical sample, certainly. And so we've had good participation as far as those go. But we're going to be expanding more of that. We'll have multiple open houses. I'll have in-person events at clubhouses, some just kind of general symposium style, public engagement periods as well around the town. There will also be an informal ARC pre-submittal review at about the 70% completion mark, and they will review it for us, make sure everything looks good. It will then go to DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, for their final review, and then we'll have that's when we'll have our second public hearing before it goes to DCA for their final review, because once they get it back, we then adopt the comprehensive plan. So just an overview, the comprehensive plan looks 10 years into the future. It's a 10-year plan. However, Georgia Planning Act requires that we update it every 5 years, because plans, we want to make sure we're on track and that we're keeping up with things and that we know what we did, and we can compare that and keep moving forward, and we can have that be an accountable process. So notice of this hearing was published in Fayette County News, and more of that will be published there. So the town is budgeting appropriate funding across multiple line items to handle costs associated with public engagement and data creation and consolidation. And staff recommends that we open the public hearing to receive public comment and continue with the plan creation process.
Okay. Are there any questions for Philip before we open the public hearing? If you have any comments for or against the Comprehensive Growth and Development Plan update process, we will be welcoming you to come forward this time. Those who are in support of the Comprehensive Growth and Development Plan update, we welcome you to speak at this time. Same as before, you have 3 minutes. Hearing none, if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Comprehensive Growth and Development Plan update process? Okay, public hearing is closed. Do you also need a vote on this, or is this just to announce it? No, sir. Okay. All right, next public hearing.
All right, Mr. Mayor, the next is a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year '27. You all are aware, we had a workshop last Tuesday. We went pretty comprehensive dive into the proposed budget. I just want to read, I've typed some comments, I don't miss anything. There's 2 distinct categories and changes since the workshop. One is a mandatory cost adjustment that was not available at the time of the workshop, and the other is a set of council-directed changes that reflect decisions that were made at the workshop. The most significant change from the workshop to tonight is the updated GMEB's Defined Benefit Retirement Plan actuarial figures, and those came in yesterday. The annual retirement premium is going up $64,497, and that number will be spread across all departments. This is a mandatory cost because of our participation in GMEBs. It's not discretionary and does not reflect any change in staffing, service levels, or council direction. The administration increase is $7,748, finance $4,000, municipal court is $2,000. The biggest one is public safety at $30,000, just because of the number of employees they have. Public works at $10,000, parks and recreation $2,500, public library went up $3,000, planning and zoning $3,749 for a total of $64,497. So that the top line budget, so you got the previous budget had gone down by $568,000, and based on changes that had to be made between the workshop and today, we are down $494,173, or 3.79% from the current fiscal year. Since the budget workshop, the overall budget has gone up $99,024. Operating revenue went down by $174,825 because we took out, council wanted to continue on with the model of spending down reserves versus securing or exploring a tax increase. So we took $174,825 out of the budget in favor of balancing the budget with reserves. So now there is a funds carried forward amount of $2,956,740. We had the assigned funds carry forward of $55,055, which we talked about at the workshop. It was related to furniture and fixtures for the library and recreation, things like that from the assigned funds. So the workshop budget had gone down by 4.5%. This budget is down 3.79. So some department by department changes for the workshop, from the workshop to now. Instead of going line by line, I can just tell you that any changes to departmental budgets, except for Parks and Recreation, were related to the retirement costs that I just gave you. The Parks and Recreation budget went up by $36,517, and I'll go over those here in just a second. So $36,517 is the Parks and Recreation increase from the workshop. Of that, 2,592 is retirement. The rest of it is attributed to services, so it went 10,620 on services. Supplies, she took down 9,250, she reduced it. Capital outlay was reduced, or I'm sorry, stayed the same at 12,445. There was a transfer out to Founder's Day at 32,555, and this is an accounting change just to show there was a shortfall in the Founder's Day budget, so there's basically a pass-through from the general fund and the rec budget to the Founder's Day budget to cover that shortfall. So the total increase from the workshop to today in recreation is 36,517. So on her services budget, that went up 10,620. Park maintenance increased from 50,000 to 70,000. This line covers Hanley ball field drainage, basketball goal replacements, and pickleball court repairs. Building maintenance increased from 20 to 30,000, and this was to council wanted to look at paint, floor, and lighting repairs. So that's an estimate to cover that. Technical services was reduced from 29,945 to 10,600, a 19,345 decrease. The workshop version included fireworks and sound costs in this line, and the public hearing budget correctly reclassifies them elsewhere. Namely, I believe one of those went to America 250, and one went to the Founder's Day. Special program services was reduced from 39,130 to 30,950, reflecting a more refined estimate of event performer costs. And smaller reductions were in Sabita. She took that down 600. Printing and binding went down 1,400. She took 2,000 out of her travel budget and 500 out of dues and fees, 500 out of legal, and 700 out of equipment rental. So that's the service line items in the rec budget. Supplies changes. She took 5,000. She reduced her special program supplies by 5,250. Holiday decorations by 2,000. Signs she reduced by 2,000. Office supplies she reduced by 1,000, and small equipment she reduced by 1,000. As I mentioned before, there was a transfer out for Founder's Day. The workshop budget did not include a transfer from Parks and Rec to the Founder's Day budget. This budget adds that 32,555 transfer out to balance the Founder's Day budget. I think I've already covered that. So the Founder's Day budget remains unchanged at 89,230. We just showed that pass out to, and I believe half of that is budgeted to be covered by donations. Roughly half. All right, so revenue, and please stop me if you have questions. know I'm
I
going through
do
this.
have one
Yeah,
question
go
about
ahead.
the Parks and Rec. We had found duplicates in there when we were going through the budget. Have those been removed?
Anything that was in the minutes or the recordings from the meeting were reviewed and should have been removed. We will double check that, but yes, that should have been touched. Absolutely.
And so okay, because that was a lot of information. What is the primary increase of $36,000 coming from?
32,555 is the transfer out to Founder's Day to balance the Founder's Day budget.
Okay,
So it's taking general fund money through her budget into the Founder's Day budget
Okay.
to balance that out.
okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, revenue changes, I've already covered. We are not, council did not want to pursue a millage rate increase. The reserve draw is going to be 2.9 million. So we put, the funds carried forward to balance the budget out was 2,781,970. Unchanged items from the workshop to the public hearing based on council input: 3% employee cost of living adjustment, 20% increase expected increase in group health and dental insurance premiums. All public works project allocations, including Pendleton Dam, Shamrock Industrial Park Access Road, and the road paving budget. All public safety capital, 2 Ford Interceptors, equipment and body camera server replacements. All SPLOST fund budgets, sewer fund, all revenue projections except real property tax, all other departmental operating line items outside of retirement contributions, and the Founder's Day budget. I will mention that our structural gap remains unchanged because, you know, we had that broader discussion during the workshop about our ongoing operating costs and our ongoing revenue, and there's a gap there. But again, we've decided to close that gap again with reserve funds. So in closing, the workshop reflects the budget in front of you tonight for public hearing reflects the consensus of council from the workshop. And the overall, again, is down 3.79% from the current budget that we're working under.
Has a meeting been held yet with Tyrone Baseball?
I met with them Tuesday.
Okay. Will they be contributing anything to the field repairs and maintenance?
Probably not, based on their financials. But I'm working on a report to y'all for that.
Okay.
But based on their financials, I don't see how they would make much of a contribution.
Okay.
Of course, this is a public hearing. This does not require a vote tonight. The budget approval will happen at the next meeting or before the end of the month as required by law.
We had a citizen at a previous meeting ask for a digital speed limit sign, and it was several meetings ago. And I wondered if we had any in this budget. I don't recall seeing any.
No, we have 6 or 7 throughout town. We haven't budgeted for others because we haven't had a formal request to. The ones we have in place seem to be helping. But
How much does one cost?
I want to say they're around $8,000. We got several of them. They were having a bulk item sale, and we went out for bid or got quotes, and this company was having a big sale, and so they were way under everybody else, and so that's kind of where we grabbed them from. Oh, yeah, Philip has a personnel item that was not mentioned at the workshop that we're working on as well.
Just in keeping with what, there was some discussion about employee pay and compensation, keeping things competitive, things of that nature. Staff has been working on and will have ready, come time for the new fiscal year, an on-call or standby policy. We're looking, as a result of that on-call policy, many other surrounding jurisdictions and municipalities have an incentive pay structure as a part of their on-call policies. We're hoping to incorporate that into ours so that for any of our employees that are on call, like Public Works, sometimes municipal court, different people that are on call, that we can have that pay structure in there for competitive purposes and just incentive pay. It'll help because they are regularly on call, a lot of those people. So just in keeping with that, we're going to be bringing that policy before you along with some numbers associated with that. It's difficult to predict exactly how much. It depends on who's going to be on call regularly, their rates. And from an expense perspective on personnel, we often have vacancies. Sometimes overtime is not taken. Instead, we have comp time that's taken. So that overall revenue item, it's hard to project that and put that in the budget and say we will have this amount of expense. I'm sorry, not revenue, expense associated with personnel. If we get to a point where for whatever reason, this policy requires us to make an adjustment when we do a year-end budget. We'll take a look at that if anything needs to be restructured. We don't anticipate this would be some sort of massive, amount of money that would, lopside the budget, but it would be a couple $1,000s that could go towards that.
How are you handling it now?
Right now, we have a bit of an informal policy. We allow, I'll just speak for Public Works and how we handle that. They are allowed to take a take-home truck. It's available, on-call is available to the employees who currently live within a radius of the town that they can take. They can have a truck that's home, it has everything, that most of what they would need to get to a job site if there's an emergency. They have a 2-hour minimum, so if they're called, even if it's for a small period of time, like, only 45 minutes, they would get paid for 2 hours of their time. That's consistent with a lot of on-call policies for a lot of jurisdictions. And then they also have a cell phone, that's the on-call Public Works non-emergency 24-hour number. So they will take that cell phone home with them. So that's our current policy. We want to make sure that we have something that's a little bit more formalized. Most municipalities have a formalized on-call policy. It's good practice. And so we're drafting that, and we want to incorporate in that, just in the spirit of being competitive and being able to compensate the guys or girls, whoever's, on call for incentive pay associated with being on call.
So how many of those employees actually have vehicles that they take home? And what do we got, 5?
We have five public works.
Right.
Guys, I think out of the 5, in terms of their radius living to town, it would be 3 of them that would be available, that's available for, or 4, including Mitch.
Would they rotate?
Yeah, on call would
Rotates?
rotate, yes, absolutely. It would be one person that rotates, yes.
And the incentive is in addition to overtime pay?
Yes, it would be in addition, yes.
But the 2 hours that they're receiving, that is time and a half, minimum.
Yes, that's time and a half if they have, yes, if they
If they have to go out.
If they have to have overtime, yeah.
And just so you know, it's not just Public Works that does on-call. We would have other employees.
Yes, this would apply to some of the detectives are on call, some in court are on call. So this would apply to not just Public Works, but Public Works is most frequently,
Right.
on a regular schedule with on call.
I just want to thank those guys because oftentimes when we have storms at night and trees go down, you'll come out and you're on your way to work and the trees have already been cut and the roads have been cleared. And so oftentimes we have people out here doing work in the middle of the night and most citizens don't even recognize it because your life hasn't been interrupted because their life was interrupted in the middle of the night. So thank you guys for that.
And while employees are on call, of course, they're not fully restricted in terms of being able to do personal things, but there is some restriction associated with being on call. You can't be, hours away. You maybe can't partake in certain activities that would otherwise make you unfit for work in 30 minutes, So there are restrictions there, and so incentive pay that takes that into consideration is common, and we want to make sure we're competitive with that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Philip.
Any more questions for staff or legal?
Just to make sure, Mr. Mayor, was that a request for us to look into adding a speed sign?
Only if council is amenable to that. I'm not unilaterally asking for that.
What is the location?
Well, that would be for us to, and
Oh,
staff
so the
to
citizen would
determine.
just, I don't remember
No,
that
the staff-
discussion.
The citizen wanted it going toward Coweta County.
On
Castlewood.
Castlewood.
Because the way that cart path comes and runs right
Parallel.
along with the road.
I will say that these signs do get both directions. They obviously don't flash for cars going away, but we do have them set in multi-direction mode. So they are getting car counts and they're getting speeds. So when I go pull that data, it will show me inbound and outbound and what their speeds were and what the vehicle counts were, time of day, all that.
But the advantage of having it on both sides is that the people that are driving
They
the
will see
car
it and flash, yes.
sees that flashing.
Yes.
They don't realize that they're being
Right.
clocked the other way as well.
Right, so
Is there a way just to get the monitor, the panel added to the sign so it's 2 monitors on 1 pole?
it's a great question.
you could
I will look into that and see if there's just if you can just have a screen on the other side. I
Since
can
you're
check
already
on
getting
that.
the data already.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Castlewood Road is a speedway. I
Yeah.
definitely would agree with that.
Okay, well, so the one for Castlewood, we had 2 on Swanson, and we moved one of the Swanson
I
to
remember.
there. And so we might be able to reassess where some of these signs are, because we have 6 or 7.
And we've put one on Tyrone, at least one on Tyrone Road.
There's one on Tyrone. That one's difficult, because in the summertime, that road is so shrouded. Well, at least leading up to Far Road from 74, it's shrouded, the tree coverage is there, and sometimes it struggles with the solar. The other ones do fine.
I'm just, the dump trucks are, even if they don't think they are, they're a problem. They
Yeah.
could be going the speed limit and they feel daunting.
Right.
So,
The one on Spencer, going from Publix to the new roundabout, that one, I've been through there a couple times lately, and nothing, it
Working?
may be recording, but it ain't showing, it isn't showing anything.
I'll check on that one
You know,
too.
just have, and it is in a shady area at certain time for a good part of the day, just to, I don't know if
Yeah.
that has any effect on it.
all right, sorry for pulling us off of budget and on to
Well, I mean, it's kind of budget.
speed limit signs.
No worries.
Okay, for the budget, you've heard some of the numbers, and hopefully you can't see that, but is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of the budget? You can come up to the mic. Sorry, because we do the live stream.
Everyone probably already knows this, but is this online easily available for any of us to download and kind of dissect?
Yes, sir. If you go to, I'll just show you. Go to our website. Go to Government, Finance and HR, and then the proposed public hearing budget.
And when's this being voted on? Next,
Yeah, the 18th.
thank you.
Thank you.
That was funny.
Thanks for lightening the mood. Would anybody, I'm going to consider that a favorable, would anybody else would like to speak in support of the budget? Hearing none, is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to the budget? Okay. Public hearing is closed. There is no vote required. Vote will take place at a later date, the 18th. So move on to the next item, which is public comment. Same as before, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, my name's Eric Larson, 105 Kelsworth Way. You know, my fellow Tyrone on Trickham Road, you know, these closed loop systems, think about it, you got 250,000 square feet buildings, right? That's 500,000 square feet. And in those buildings, there's anywhere between 100,000 and 500,000 servers. And all these servers do is generate heat, right? So if you think about the magnitude of the cooling that's required, right? Because that's all they do. And think about, I don't know, July 31st, it's 92 degrees, 100% humidity. I mean, these things are going to be working pretty hard, right, to cool that thing down, right? Because cooling something down is an inefficient process anyway, right? And so now you're trying to do it. I mean, I don't know the scale of it, but think about the magnitude of what it takes to cool something like that. 500,000 servers, right? My point here is if something goes wrong, it goes wrong bigly, right? This is like single point of failure. Once it goes wrong, it flows into creeks and it's done, right? And there can be apologies and there can be, you know, what happened and we didn't mean it, right? It's really important that this has got to be nailed down. I mean, if we're going to go down this path, right? Because it sounds like we are. I would argue that we should make this a model of how you put one of these things in. If that's what we're going to do, if we're going to build one of these data centers, then let's show them how it's done. Let's do it right. I mean, Microsoft's got deep pockets. You know, we need to squeeze their head to make sure we're getting what we need out of this stuff. That people on Trickham Road aren't worried, that the poor lady who was in here 2 weeks ago crying and worrying about her life, right? That ain't right, right? We got to start, and I don't, you know, this glad handing stuff we had the other day where Microsoft came up and gave everybody a hug, right? You know, that's great and all. We got to hold those people to the fire, and we got to do this right. And I don't know how long it takes, doesn't really matter, right? But I think collectively, there's smart people back behind me and there's smart people in front of me. And I know I've been a negative fella, and that's just the way I'm built, right? But I'm trying to be positive now because I think there's an opportunity. This could be the greatest thing that Tyrone ever does if we do it right, right? So I would caution us to take our time, to work through it, to consult with the community, to get involvement with people, and I'm willing to assist whenever possible, right? I got lots of bad ideas, right? So that's my challenge, right? If we're gonna do it, then let's do it right. Thank you.
I'm Molly Larson, 105 Kelsworth Way. I just wanted to expand on that closed loop system. 25% of that liquid in that closed loop system, studies have shown leaks out per month. 25%, that's a lot. And the other thing I'm really concerned about is how, I mean, this particular application of a closed loop system is relatively new. And when I had talked to Microsoft, they were comparing it to Wyoming. The climate in Wyoming, the climate here are very different, my husband was saying. But when those chemicals get hot, they get corrosive. And when they get corrosive and acidic, they start eating through pipes, they start breaking down gaskets, and that's when leaks happen. And you really don't have to have a bigly or catastrophic leak to have stuff seep into the water supply. So I think some of this technology that maybe is sort of new to Microsoft, where they're using the benchmark is Wyoming, and that's apples to oranges, two totally different climates. So yeah, just expanding on that whole closed loop system, because nothing is closed. I mean, you know, they say that, and it sounds good, but it just isn't the case. And just for the record, I don't want this at all, so I'll talk to my husband about that when I get
That's funny.
Just real quick, we sit here and we talk to each of you very passionately. This has been going on for several weeks now, but we don't get much feedback. Like, what are you really thinking? Are you listening? What are you planning to do? So I really would love, I don't know, I know Billy, but a lot of you I don't know very well. I used to sit in your seat years ago on this same town council. So I'm just curious. I would like to have some feedback for the people here tonight in terms of what are your plans? What do you want to do? How are you going to handle our concerns?
We'd be happy to, as I say always, we'd be happy to speak individually afterward. The last time we did that, we had a long executive session. We don't have a long executive session tonight, so if you want to hold some of us back, you can do so. No. It's just not the way we do our public comment. Yeah. All right, next. Are you next? Do you want to come up next?
Speak tonight, but I just want to make a brief comment, maybe an encouraging, on an encouraging note. We don't have this data center yet. Okay, if I would have been in that position 2 years ago, maybe make a decision about a development, I may have made that mistake too, not knowing enough about a data center. I may have made that mistake and said, hey, this is great for Tyrone. We're going to do this. It's going to be, you know, financially great for us. Nobody really had the time or took the time to learn about it. So I could have been right in the same position. But we need to acknowledge that the world has learned a lot in 2 years. Everybody's against data centers. I mean, we're not the only ones. Everybody's against it, and for a reason, because there are all these facts out there, you know, about pollution. Why half a mile or a quarter mile from a residential area with all these issues with water supply and noise? Why does it have to be here? We didn't know that. We didn't think about it 2 years ago. We thought, oh, this is great. Let's do it. But we don't have it yet. Now is our opportunity. Let's find a way not to get this center here. There must be better places. If they really want to build it, there must be better places. And I would like to, encourage everyone to think about that. Thank you very much.
Can you fill out a form for D, please? You want to come now, sir, in the back? Okay. Next. Okay. Staff comments.
I don't have anything. Go ahead, Philip.
I did have a point of clarification. There was a request in one of the last meetings. Somebody had asked Scott, our Public Works Director, about the number of hours Scott was working on average. He responded that he worked about 70 or so hours. There was a week where Scott was on call for quite a bit of items, and so I think he was referencing that. But Scott's regular hours are not that. Of course, we have a standard is 40 hours, but Scott does regularly work over 40 hours, about 50 to 55 hours a week is what Scott typically works. So just wanted to make sure that was clarified for the good of the order of that previous meeting.
Thank you.
I also wanted to make a clarification from the budget workshop. You asked how much the legal cost was as far as the hourly rate, and I tried to do it off the top of my head. Not a good thing. It's actually $225 an hour for our legal counsel.
Thank you.
And I was misstated, sorry.
Are there any other staff comments?
Yes, sir. Advanced voting for the general primary runoff election will be next Monday through Friday at Town Hall from 9 to 7. Election day is the 16th. Please check myvoterpage.com for your polling place. One polling place in Tyrone is the public library located at 143 Commerce Drive. The hours on election day are 7 to 7.
Thank you. Is that all of our staff comments? Council comments?
I would like to say something, if I
Go ahead.
could. I just want to say, I think it was the woman in the very back who spoke and wanted to hear our feedback and opinions and say that we sit here silent. And as a new member to council, just want you all to know that, yes, the way public comment is set up, we are not allowed to engage with the public. It's the policy for public comment. We cannot engage, we listen. But I will promise you that as a new member, I listen, I take notes, I come with things, and every staff member here can ask you at least 3 times a week, I'm emailing them and asking them questions. Because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm trying to understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to learn as well. And they're probably tired of me with my pages and pages of help me understand this, explain that. So if you would like to engage with me, I welcome you to email me. I don't have the answers. I am trying to learn. I understand the concern. I don't know that anything can be done. But please don't mistake our lack of engagement with you as disrespect. It's not. It's policy for public comment, which is why I believe the mayor says afterwards, we're happy to speak with you. But we all have email addresses and phone numbers online. We're happy to listen and talk. I hear your concerns. I don't know if I have the answers, but I do ask questions, lots of them, and they get tired of them. But I think that's part of the process, is hearing your voice and then asking the questions. So I just wanted to address that. None of us are here to disrespect you or not respond to you. We do listen.
I'm going to piggyback off of Councilwoman, and I'm going to say that every meeting I take a lot of notes of what people are saying, and some of your concerns are obviously our concerns too, because we live here. I have the youngest. I'm the youngest on council. Probably you can tell, right? You know, so I have school age kids, and and my kids are playing in the park and riding through the neighborhood on their bikes, and of course, public safety is a very important thing to me. I make my living here. I have 2 businesses here in Tyrone, um, and it's very important to me. I love this town, just like many of you love this town as well, and so just for your sake, people have talked about sound pollution and water use, health effects, forever chemicals, transparency from this council, the size of our building and how the buildings that'll be there, the environmental noise. Some people even came with recommendations for things that could be potentially done to mitigate these concerns. So your concerns are our concerns, and as your council, it would, like, we are always going to speak on behalf of you to those people that affect you. So when we have the opportunity, when we move along in a process, there are checks in the process that allow us to be able to engage with Microsoft in those ways and ask the questions that you're asking us. And we will probably take that time in a public forum to say, hey, what about these concerns that the public are bringing us? Because people talk to us when we're at the coffee shop, when we're at the hardware store, when we're on our golf carts buying stuff from Publix. Like, people ask questions all the time. We write them down, and we want to convey those questions that you have to them as well. And we do approach every decision with a certain amount of thoughtfulness and prayerfulness, to be honest, because not everybody has the answers, and sometimes we have to seek, a higher power to try to figure out if our decisions are going to be sound, and because we know at the end of the day, it's our God that we have to answer to, as well as members of our community that we have to face, and so as a member of the community, I just want to say thank you for coming out. Thank you for voicing your concerns. Thank you for holding us accountable, because we're here for that. And like Councilwoman said, our phone numbers and our email addresses are online, and you can reach us at any time.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Ms.
Okay.
Swain.
Yes, I want to thank y'all for your comments. We all take notes. I've taken notes. I met with Brandon for over an hour discussing my concerns about your concerns. And we, along with Ms. Wheeler, we got the information compacted into a website where you can actually see the facts, see the timelines, and we're willing to put anything and everything out there for you to see. Any conversations we have with Microsoft, at this point, they have not presented as a plan, so there's nothing for us to ask them. It's just at a standstill. So when the comment is made, nothing's been done for 2 years, it's because all they did was rezone the property that allowed them to have a data center or any of the other list of things that's allowed in that type of business park. So going forward, we will do all within our power to ensure, as Mr. Larson said, that they make it the best Microsoft data center that they've ever put on this planet, if they're going to build it here. We have a planning commission that's committed to that. We have an environmental specialist who's committed to that. We have a town manager who's committed to that, an assistant town manager who's committed to that. The council is committed to that. The mayor's committed to that. Everyone on staff is committed to that. That if they're going to come here, and they came here to build, that they do it. And I'm confident that it will be every I dotted, every T crossed, according to every regulation that we have at a state level, at a federal level, and that is what we're committed to do for you. And we are on your side. We live here. I've lived here for almost 20 years. And this is the staff's time to comment, so I appreciate you all staying. I mean, the council's time to comment, so I appreciate you all staying to hear our comments, because I know the last meeting went long. It was not anything under our control. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you reaching out to us, reaching out to staff. And I hope to answer your questions and take all these notes and go even further to pursue the answers that you're looking for. We're not just hearing you, we are pursuant of those answers. Thank you.
The, do you have anything to say? It was brought up at the last meeting about the moratorium. I don't think anybody has brought it up at this meeting, but I thought I would try to shed a little bit more light on that as far as the process of the moratorium and what it would mean. So even if we were to, if we had the authority to and tonight established a moratorium on data centers, that would not have any impact on the Microsoft data center because that's already gone through the process in 2024. Matter of fact, if there is a company that's out there trying to do a data center and they've expended enough resources, it wouldn't impact them either. You have to have a reason for a moratorium, something that you can tangibly put on that. We could probably come up with a reason for a moratorium. A moratorium is obviously temporary, lasts whether it's 60, 90 days, 6 months, and then what? So I'm all about a moratorium. It's fine with me. But the last thing is a moratorium for us is unnecessary because we don't have any property in town where a data center could go. We checked into this because of what was said at the last meeting. And really the response was it really is just, it would just be for show because we can't, there's nowhere to put a data center in the town at this point. So, but if we want to do a moratorium and figure out a reason to do so and a time period to do it, that's fine too. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood exactly how a moratorium would work and what it would impact. So.
So do I understand correctly that if a moratorium went into place, it would not impact the current Microsoft data center?
Correct. Or any other company that has expended. I'm gonna let Dennis answer questions. I'm getting.
And then I guess my second clarification question would be, am I hearing correct that there are no further plans for additional data centers in Tyrone?
There are no plans for data centers in the county.
The county, okay.
Or obviously Tyrone.
Yes.
Have I veered off out of my lane too much and said anything that was inaccurate?
That's a good general overview. You've touched on vested rights, and vested rights would be a defense to someone who wanted to still construct something during a moratorium if those vested rights existed.
Okay. Philip, with your expertise on our zoning and available properties, is there any property in Tyrone that could contain a data center?
No, the only BTP zoned property in town is the Microsoft property. There are not really any other properties in town that are eligible for BTP zoning based on our land use plan. So there really is, the Microsoft property is the extent of any BTP zoned property, and our land use plan would not support it in any other property that I'm.
And this one is about what, 8% the size of QTS? Is that right?
So this is 500,000, 2 buildings, 500,000 square feet between both buildings. QTS has 13 buildings. They're approximately 1 million square feet each. It depends on the building, but yeah.
Are there any other council comments?
Mr. Mayor, you were going to bring up the, okay.
So the governor announced a couple of weeks ago that they were going to have a special session. The special session was announced to cover a voting issue, something about a QR code, redistricting, and one other issue. last night, they announced that they were going to add a property tax change on the special session agenda. We didn't know why. We found out today that the reason why is because a lot of municipalities like us push back on what are you all going to do to us with the property tax. You know, we're all about fiscal responsibility, but what are you going to do? We need predictability. So we found out that the reason they put it on this special session agenda is to allow local governments to put on the November referendum an L-host. And because they are so much more popular than other forms of taxation, and I've forgotten the percentage, I think about a third of revenues received are from outside of the county. So generally speaking, SPLOS or LOST or L-host, whatever it may be, are just viewed upon much more favorably. So they announced today that that was the reason why it was going to be on the special session agenda. The special session begins on June 17th. They advised us today that in order for us to get this on the agenda, literally for us to be considered, it would have to go to the newspaper to be advertised by the 10th, June 10th. In order for us to get it in the paper on the 10th, it would have to be advertised, or it would have to be submitted to the paper for advertisement tomorrow at noon, by tomorrow at noon. Now, this is not we are not making a decision or advertising to put it on the referendum on the ballot. All we are doing is saying, in the event that we decide to do so, we want to be considered. So it's a no-brainer to just get it advertised, and then we'll make a decision later after further deliberation and also meeting with the other local governments in the county as to whether that's a decision that we want to make. So all of the cities in the county and the county have been working feverishly this afternoon to make sure everybody is on the same page. Dennis represents the county. We can't do this without the county. So Dennis, I would ask you if you would fill in any blanks that I may have left.
As accurate representation of the time frame. The issue is, if you're going to have any type of local legislation, it has to be advertised in your legal organ the week before it can be considered by the General Assembly. Because the special session starts on the 17th and no one knows how long it will last, the later you wait to advertise, the more the chances of you being able to get anything before the General Assembly go down. So the only way to ensure that you have that opportunity is to get it advertised in the paper on the 10th, get it to them by noon tomorrow. And I understand the county, the last I heard, was intending to do that, and Tyrone certainly may do that as well. It doesn't require you to have this L-host on the referendum, but it does give you the option if you choose to pursue it.
Dennis, can you clarify for the folks in the room the difference between a LOST, a SPLOST, and an L-host, please?
Let me just say, I found out about this yesterday for the first time.
Yep.
And my concentration has been, what can I do to keep your options available? And the only thing to do would be to run the ad. I don't have enough substantive knowledge about the L-host to do that type of comparison for you this evening. I'm happy to work that up for you, but it's not available for me tonight.
Okay, could you just in general just say what an L-host is?
Well, it's a form of special tax, just like the local option sales tax, the special purpose local option sales tax. It adds whatever the legislature says that you can add. Sometimes it's a penny, sometimes it's a half a penny, sometimes it's a little more than that for purchases, and some transactions are exempt. And the dollars are accumulated just like there are with local option sales tax and special purpose local option sales tax. And you get those funds on is it a monthly basis that you receive those funds? Over a period of typically 5 or 6 years, which this lasts. And you've had a lost in place since probably the 90s. You've had a special purpose local option sales tax on 1 or 2 occasions, and you've generated millions of dollars just from that penny. And as Mayor Dyer was saying, approximately 30 to probably 35% of that comes from outside your jurisdiction, from folks coming in spending dollars.
Okay. Dennis, pardon me, does this have to be collectively, everybody in meaning Peachtree City, Fayetteville, Tyrone, and Woolsey? Do they all have to be part of this in order for this to go on the referendum? Or do we do that as an individual municipality?
The only necessary party is the county. If the county doesn't do it, no one can.
Okay.
It's a county tax. But once the county says, we're going to keep that option available, the cities need to join in if they want to be part of that distribution. They don't have to be, but they can be.
So it could be just Tyrone and the Fayette County if that, so.
That is possible,
Right.
yes.
Now, if it's collectively, or there's more than like Fayetteville and Peachtree City, is it done the same way that Splosh is done, that our split is going to be based basically on our population?
I would love to be able to answer that question with a substantive answer. All I can tell you is it'll take me doing more research to answer that question.
Thank you.
There will be some type of distribution. I don't know the comparison.
Yeah. The purpose of that distribution in this particular case is to go back to reduce property taxes for each individual homestead member in Tyrone, correct?
Correct. The major difference between L-Host and Lost would be Lost, you have projects that Splost, you have projects that you've put on the referendum of what you're going to do. With L-Host, the money goes straight toward your homestead exemption.
Got it. Thank you.
I know this is a lot to consume, but I mean, we were literally having these conversations with the county and other cities at 6 o'clock. So you have any questions?
I was just going to make a statement, considering the budget we just passed when we haven't passed it yet, that considering passing and the extreme deficit that we have in that budget was 40%, is that about right?
Something like that.
That we're moving from reserves to balance our budget. I would like to keep our options open and go ahead and put the advertisement out, because I don't want to ever raise the millage rate, and this is the only way that we can compensate, from what I can see at this point, hypothetically, if the legislature continues on the path they're on, which is eliminating homestead tax. So I think we pretty much have to do it.
And we haven't raised the millage rate in 18 years, I think, 19 years. This would be 19. And we certainly want to continue to do that. But with the legislature throwing things at us that we don't understand, it's hard to make these decisions. So I think it's just simply a no-brainer to keep our options open and have the submit this for advertisement.
A motion?
Probably. We can, yes.
I would like to make a motion to have staff prepare the advertising for the L-Host.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I've been looking at my phone to see if any of the other cities have done it tonight, and nobody's responded yet, but I'll respond to them and tell them that we did. Is that all I was going to mention?
I believe so.
All right, we have one brief executive session item. I don't think we have to take a motion to move to executive session. If we will just, we just read it and. finished reading, you can make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 21st, 2026 executive session.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.